Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a pair of viewer replays, and they're both of the same tank, kind of. We're starting off with a B1, this is the Hagen Gnome, and he's top tier on Himmelsdorf, which in theory is pretty good for the B1, but there are some pretty tough opponents on the enemy team. Now the B1 and the German tier 4 regular heavy tank, because the other one we're going to come to is the Panzer B2, which is the premium German tier 4 heavy tank. They have limited matchmaking, and they're the only regular tanks in the game that have limited matchmaking. They only see it up to tier 5. That's because they're not very good, and honestly the best tier 4 heavy tank in the game is the Matilda, which is a medium tank. It does everything these vehicles do but better. It has better armor, it has better gun, but the DW2 and the B1 probably have an edge in terms of mobility, but that doesn't really make up for the other things. So the Hagen Gnome is having fun immediately with his Cheeto, but he gets off a couple of good early shots here. The gun on the B1, it's not great. You actually get this gun on the D2. I'm having to be very careful with my tank names here, which is why I like the D2 at tier 3 more, because it has that same gun, but it's much more effective at tier 3. And although it effectively has the same matchmaking as the B1 in terms of the maximum tier it can see, it's better because obviously if you're top tier in a D2, you're still going to be facing less tough opponents than if you're top tier in a B1. So although I have a kind of a soft spot for the B1, as with many of the low tier French vehicles, I don't have a B1 anymore. I did, however, go and buy a B2 when I had the chance to do it, because it's the same tank, slightly worse gun in theory. It's like the middle gun of the B1, but actually a bit better. But it has tier 4 only matchmaking, and the only other vehicle I can think of that has top tier only matchmaking is the Valentine 2, and again that's because it has an absolutely dire gun. There might actually be the LTP as well. I can't remember what matchmaking that gets. That might be top tier only, but anyway, we're not talking about the LTP, we're not talking about the Valentine 2, we're talking about the B1. Once upon a time this had really good armor for tier 4, but it has been badly power creeped by, among other things, the Matilda and just low tier British guns generally. There are a lot of guns around at tier 4 that can hurt this thing, never mind the fact that it sees tier 5. You know, this thing versus a KV1, you know who's going to come off better. But in this scenario, this isn't too bad. He's actually able to be somewhat effective here, but he needs the rest of his team to do stuff as well. Now he's already racked up a decent amount of damage, and yes, he did just ram that Valentine 2 to death. But he's kind of wasting his APCR here. I think he just didn't realise he still had his APCR loaded. This is the Chinese M3, the M5 Stuart rather. And you really don't need APCR for that, even with this gun. But he used up the rest of it anyway, so that's a bit unfortunate. If he meets anything else where he needs APCR ammo, he's going to be out of luck, because there are a lot of targets that this gun just can't hurt. This has worse pen than the AMX-40. So yeah, the AMX-40 is pretty bad. This is in a lot of ways worse. In fact, you could almost say the AMX-40 is a better heavy tank than this thing. But of course the AMX-40 sees tier 6s still, so yeah. Ooh, that's nasty. Yeah, the Panzer IV-D has got a nice gun. This doesn't so much. The team is rapidly running out of tanks, and he's done a decent number of kills. He's actually 1200 damage in tier 4 with this gun. That's actually pretty respectable. But his team is running out of friendlies, and they look like they are just about at our cap. There's not a whole lot you can do about it at this stage. The enemy team still has that Matilda left. He's not going to be able to take on a Matilda, not with 66 average pen. Bear in mind the Matilda's, the armour for the most part is 75 on a Matilda. So there's a lot of tanks at low tiers, like especially the low tier French. If you meet Matilda, there's literally nothing you can do, especially if you don't have a large supply of premium ammo, which the Hagen Gnome didn't. There's also an Su-85B around this corner, which is bad news. Now, he does get lucky there. That one goes into his tracks. And I will say that that's a very nice bounce off the side there. If you want to learn angling and side scraping, the low tier French are a good place to learn it. Not as good, perhaps, as, say, the KV1, and obviously the Matilda, which I've already mentioned, has got very good armour for a tier 4. So that's another one where, if you want to pick up something that's relatively cheap to research and to buy, you could do a lot worse than a Matilda or a D2 or a B1. Some of the new French tanks as well. Heck, even something like the H35, the Hotchkiss, that's got very good armour for a tier 2. So, yeah, these are... It's a good place to cut your teeth doing that. But anyway, he's just trying to side scrape against this SU-85B. He knows he's lost. But the SU-85B actually makes a move, so he's able to get a shot in. That's good. And he's got 10 seconds to maybe kill this M37 if it's still there. And he is, so... a chance to do a bit more damage. And look at this, he's got over 1500 damage now. And to do over 1500 damage with this matchmaking means that the rest of his team probably wasn't doing very much. So there we go. The M37 fired and missed, and bam. And they're about to cap. So, yeah, the B1, I want to like it. And even though it gets better matchmaking than the AMX-40, it has a worse gun. So, I never hung on to it, but I did have a B2. But we're going to come to a B2 in just a second. We'll look at the results screen for this match first. Now, the Hagen Gnome got an ace tanker out of that, even though it was a loss. He got a top gun, steel wall, and a high caliber. And on a loss, obviously this is because he got the courageous resistance bonus, but he had nearly 1200 base XP in a tier 4 tank on a loss. So that tells you how much he was having to do. On the enemy team, it was actually the Matilda, unsurprisingly, who did less damage than him. Still a respectable 1100 damage, 6 kills, but that netted him 986. So on a loss, he got more XP than the highest scoring tank on the enemy team. So in some games, there's literally, like, there's not much more that you can do. And I would not be surprised. He probably did nearly as much, if not as much, damage-wise as the rest of his team combined, and almost certainly the same in terms of his XP as well. Maybe not the XP, actually, because that's 14 other players, but even so, to get that off of a tier 4 battle when you're top tier, yeah, that's pretty damn respectable. So, yeah. So as promised, next up, it's the B2, and this is Arctic Frost, and again a 9.5 replay, so fairly recent. I should have mentioned the B1 game was also 9.5. These are both fairly recent games. Again, top tier, but you're always going to be top tier in a B2 because, as I mentioned, it's top tier only matchmaking. That's because the gun's not especially good, and there are still plenty of targets around that you're going to find really tough to pen. But because it's a premium tank, you can afford to roll around with a lot more premium ammo in it. In theory, this is the middle gun on the B1, the SA-34. Is it SA-35? I can't remember exactly, but it's actually slightly better than the equivalent gun on the B1. It's got better penetration, I think. I'm just going by memory here. I remember, because I've done a review of the B2 that you can go and check out. I'm not going to cover all of it here, but it is better than the equivalent gun on the B1. And it's also one of the very few tanks where, if there's ever a premium ammo sale, I stock up on ammo for this thing, because you do need it. Especially since things like the Matilda have come along. But even before that, MX-40s, Lees, there were other things that were quite tough for this gun, especially to pen frontally. So, he's going on this flank. We're on a completely different map this time. He's going on the 1-2 line. He's got one tank for backup. And this could be alright. If there's not many tanks there, he can just push round and maybe take them in their base if they have a lot of campers. But this means that there's a lot of his team on the other flank, and they're really going to have to push around. Unless they bump into a lot of the enemy team, but we'll see. But it's already looking like... I mean, they're outnumbered. They're already 3-2. There's nothing particularly tough there right now, but that T-82 might have a nasty gun. Oh, and that's a Grant, so he's going to have to be careful of that, because that gun is more than enough to pen this armour. One of the things that, I mean, I guess one of the justifications for Wargaming, in their eyes, for not giving the B1 or the B2 very good guns, was the fact that they do have decent armour for their tier. But maybe it's just power creep. There are a lot of guns around, even just at tier 4, that can really hurt this machine. And the fact that the B1 can also see tier 5s, yeah, it's not so good. It's not so good. So he's putting his oh, that's the 6-pounder. That's got 110 pounds. Yeah, he's putting his gun to work here, but he's going to have to be careful of that Grant especially. And he's actually switching to the Prem ammo here. He does use his Prem ammo quite intelligently, Arctic Frost. He wanted to say Arctic Fox for obvious reasons, but the top of that Grant turret is actually, it's sloped enough that he's not able to get any traction. So he aims a bit further down and gets the pen, and that's fine. So that's one dangerous gun out the way, but they're still outnumbered, and that's actually a DW2 there as well, which is, it's not that dangerous in terms of its gun, but if it's angling well, it might be a little more tough to pen. And obviously it's also got more hit points to chew through, because it's one of the few advantages of being in a tier 4 heavy tank is you get more hit points than your peers, but the guns generally speaking are quite terrible. So he's now alone. That 38 NA has died, unfortunately, and there's still, what, 3-4 tanks in front of him, plus there was an Su-76 spotted over this side as well. So yeah, that's a British Stuart, by the way, so quite a decent gun. The DW2 is just going forward, but because this is a low tier game, I mean, this is a dangerous situation, but it's maybe less dangerous than if he was in a tier 7, 8, 9, 10 battle, at which point they would probably all just drive around and go for him. But as it is, they've taken an awfully long time to take advantage of this. The Cruiser 2's just driven around behind him, and Arctic's actually prioritising the DW2 here, which might not be the right thing to do. The Cruiser 2 actually has a better gun than the DW2 in terms of its pen, if I'm remembering correctly. Because of course the DW2, that I know back though, has only got a short-barreled 5cm gun. Unfortunately, the Stuart's taken out his turret ring, which is going to take a little while to repair. Although he does just decide, screw it, he's going to use the repair kit for that, which is entirely sensible. In the meantime, the Su-76 has appeared behind him, and he's still being shot by that Stuart with premium ammo. So this is very dangerous. Takes out the Su-76, and now it's 1 versus 1. This Stuart's a one-shot kill. He is, yeah, very, very lucky to be alive. He held this flank pretty much on his own. I mean, the 38 NA was there to begin with. Did contribute a little bit of damage. Actually got 2 kills, to be fair to the guy. So between them, they killed 7 tanks. They killed half of the enemy team on one flank. And a lot of that was to do with the armour of this thing. But we can't discount luck as well, because you can only angle so many ways, and he was literally surrounded at various points. So there was a hefty dose of luck in there, but he couldn't have done that without that armour. So in that case, the armour did come in useful, but he still came awfully close to dying even so. And the fact that he didn't was very, very lucky indeed. But he got a nice collection of ribbons and medals out of that. He got an Ace Mastery, again. He actually did less damage than the Hagen Gnome did. Spartan, Steel Wall, High Caliber. He also got less XP, even though it was a win, because again, the Hagen Gnome got the same amount of XP as if he had one, but because this was a daily for Arctic Frost, his total XP was actually more for that battle, 3,380 with premium. So it was the higher XP, technically, the higher XP battle, but I think the Hagen Gnomes almost was more impressive just in terms of the amount of damage he was able to do, the amount of damage he had to do, and was still not able to make it a win, unfortunately. But yeah, so there you go, the B2. You can check out my review of it. It's an older review, but it is still valid, I think. It does come up for sale occasionally. Might be worth checking out. But before I wrap up this video, normally I just wrap up the video here, you know, I've given my concluding thoughts, but I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the new low-tier French vehicles as well. Not so much the 30B prototype and the 30B, just because they're not really the kind of mediums that I'm very good at playing, and so I'm not really going to be able to give coherent thoughts on them based on the information I've got. Although it's fair to say they do look a lot like the Leopard and the STB. They're that play style because they are basically of that early era of main battle tanks. They rely more on mobility and not being hit than they do on armour, because a lot of the guns around from that era versus the armour technology, having a lot of armour to slow you down, it really wasn't worthwhile because you were just going to get penned anyway. So it was much better to have a more mobile tank with a good gun that could relocate quickly, and that's exactly what the Leopard 1 is. That's exactly what the 30B looks like it's going to be as well. So yeah, but of the new tanks, we actually have some in-game already in various forms. The FCM 36 is part, it's kind of in the game. It's the FCM 36 Pak 40, which again captured French tank modified with a German gun, but this one's actually on the French tree, so it's probably still going to be for sale. But we know from that how slow it's going to be. But it's going to be tier 2, and it's going to have 40 mil of armor, so it's going to be like the Hotchkiss H35. It's going to be a pretty tough little tank for its tier, but it's going to be quite slow. The Samurai S35, we already have that in-game as, again, a German premium vehicle at tier 3. That's a captured German vehicle. That's probably going to be removed from sale for the German tech tree, as they did with the B2, as they have done. I think there's... I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's at least one other vehicle where it's popped up as a regular vehicle, and so they've removed it from, as a premium. But that's probably not going to be a German premium anymore. It might be a good time to buy one. It looks like, again, it looks like it might be alright for its tier, fairly slow. The armour isn't really much better, but we'll see. The SARL-42 is possibly the most interesting, at least for me, just because it gets a really nice 75mm gun. It's also got that turret, and I'm going to call this the Crested Duck, and I hope that nickname catches on, because it really, it should be the Crested Duck, because that's what it looks like to me. It doesn't quite have the hull isn't really duck shaped, but I'm actually going to put up a picture of a crested duck and you'll see what I mean compared to this turret. The 75mm gun this thing gets, the top 75mm, actually it looks like that is going to be the gun that the AMX-40 gets with its new turret as well, because let's not forget the AMX-40 is also going to get a new top turret, and it's going to get a new top 75mm gun, and it's probably going to be the same as the SARL-42, so that's going to come along. I don't know if that's actually going to be 9.7 as well, along with all these new vehicles. But if you really loved that AMX-40 top turret, the Renault Balland turret, fear not, because it's going to be on the Renault G1 as the stock turret for the Renault G1. It's going to be terrible. The G1 tech tree, actually, looking at the information I've been given, it doesn't even have the top gun of the SARL-42. It actually has the current top gun of the AMX-40 as its stock gun. Stock, this thing is going to be horrific. It has 74 average pen. The gun is pretty inaccurate. It doesn't have a particularly fast rate of fire, so I don't predict people are going to have a very good experience with the stock G1, but with the top turret and the top gun, it's going to get better, I think. It also has a derp gun. Now, there is actually only one non-artillery howitzer in the game already, and that's on the Samurai, the SAL-40, and it's kind of equivalent to the equivalent German. It's equivalent to the equivalent, yeah, I just said that, the German and the American 105mm guns. We know pretty much how this is going to handle, but it's going to be interesting to see this on a French medium tank, because the Samurai, the SAL-40, it's not a particularly good machine. And also, lest we forget, there's going to be another tier 2 as well, the Renault R35, but Wargaming are going to do some kind of big reveal on that thing, so we don't really know any information on that, especially beyond the actual real-life information you can look up on the web. But for one, I for one am happy to see more low-tier French tanks in the game. I do hope, however, that the introduction of these new low-tier French tanks means that we're also going to have some rebalancing of the existing low-tier French tanks, because some of them are very sad little machines indeed, and I'm thinking particularly of the D1 and the AMX-38, seriously in need of some love, and the B1 as well. I think if they're going to put some new tanks in, it's a very good time to look at the existing low-tier French also, because one of the issues with low-tier tanks generally is that they're very, very unevenly balanced. Wargaming spends a lot more time looking at the kind of mid-higher tier vehicles, and okay, yes, they get played more, but I feel like the low-tier experience in World of Tanks is very inconsistent. It's a whole separate subject, I know, but if they're not going to do +1, -1 matchmaking, at least for low-tier vehicles, then a lot of the low-tier vehicles need to seriously be improved. So, yeah, but like I said, that's a whole other subject. So if you enjoyed this video, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.